We're not Trojans.
Neither are you Greeks. Who are you?
We're from another country, We're visiting cities in the area.
Then what are you doing outside the walls of Troy?
Yep, they've landed in the middle of the Trojan War. I believe I asked last time which one of them speaks 2nd century BC Greek.
You're wrong, Ulysses. We fought the Trojans on their terms long enough. Those plains are red with Greek blood.
What do you suggest, Sardis?
A handful of men, I can burn Troy to the ground.
Always the same plan, Sardis, and always the same answer, no.
And why is Odysseus going by his Roman name Ulysses when Rome hasn't even risen yet? A soldier brings in the two strangers. He says, I didn't know what else to do with them. Ulysses starts trying to figure out where they're from.
Let's just say we come from a place in time without end, past, and future.
Gods from Olympus! Just as I thought. Welcome. Why? Welcome.
I wonder if that's what Doug was going for. In any case, he's not disabusing him of the idea. Ulysses says, if you come from that place of time, you know the future and how this war will end.
You'll be victorious.
And what of Helen, our stolen queen?
You'll return her to Greece.
And my armies will shatter the walls of Troy?
No, Ulysses. You'll never breach its walls.
This proves they're Trojan spies. They're just trying to confuse and trick you.
If they're Trojan spies, why are they telling him he's going to win? That's Sardis, Ulysses' aide. He says, let me test them. He challenges Tony to a sword fight. When did Tony learn to do that? After a very well choreographed and very well directed fight, Tony wins.
Tony, look out! Wait!
You disgraced your sword and offended the gods.
Ulysses, they are not gods.
You defeated...
And now you've been humiliated by a left-handed, backhanded slap from your commander. I'm pretty sure that was about as insulting as you could make a slap without using a dead fish. In most of the ancient world, the left hand was considered unclean and, by extension, insulting to use in polite company. Scholars have tried to come up with all kinds of weird religious reasons for it, but the fact is, that was the hand you wiped with, and Charmin hadn't been invented yet. So your left hand probably wasn't the most pleasant thing in the room, even if you wiped it off in the dirt afterward. A left-handed slap was as deep an insult as it went because you had no idea where that hand had been recently. Sardis goes storming off. That guy's going to be trouble. Ulysses wants to quiz these potential gods from Olympus, try to make sure they really know more than the average person.
It began with a contest among the gods, goddesses, Venus, Juno, and
Minerva. There was a contest of beauty between them, and Jupiter was too wise to act as judge.
Juno and Jupiter. Do you perhaps mean Hera and Zeus? They know the entire story of how he came to be here. Venus gave Helen to Paris of Troy. Paris essentially kidnapped her and took her back with him, and 1,000 ships have been waging war against Troy ever since, trying to take their good Greek deities back from these upstart Romans that didn't exist yet. I mean, take back their queen from her abductors.
Don't be a fool, soldier. I'm Sardis. I must see Paris. Take me to him.
While he's doing that, let's meet the cause of all this fuss.
You called Paris?
Did you watch the battle today?
From the parapet.
I fought very well.
I didn't notice.
Ouch. I think we know what she thinks of this situation.
Looking for their heroes to give them the edge of my sword. Where were they today? Where was Ulysses? I called for them to come out.
You must have called very quietly, like a thief. You are a thief, you know, Paris. I am witness to that.
Sardis comes in, offering to join Paris. He tells Paris about the two strangers, and Paris says if these two fake gods were abducted, Ulysses might lose heart and give up. The two fakes themselves are ready to get out of there as soon as everybody's asleep, but before they go, Tony wants to know if the Trojan Horse story is true. He pops over to have a quick conversation with Ulysses. Short version? Yes, it's true.
Where's the other one?
He's gone.
Where?
He's with Ulysses.
Create a diversion. Set fire to the camp.
While tents burn and the Greeks scramble to put them out, Sardis and his team escape back to Troy.
Who are you?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you.
You're addressing a prince of Troy. I hear you brought Ulysses some interesting news.
We spoke of many things.
Of Troy?
Yes.
And its fate. Is it true that Ulysses will never breach our walls?
It is.
He says, "How do you know this?" Doug says, "I do know the future, but I don't claim to come from Olympus."
I have a sister, Cassandra. Is there anything special about her?
She is said to be very beautiful.
I mean something else. She has something that ordinary mortals don't have.
Yes. She has a gift from Apollo, the gift of prophecy.
When Paris kidnapped Helen, his sister prophesied that Troy would be burned to the ground. Paris says, but Troy is still here, so the prophecy is false. He sends Doug away, but he's clearly shaken.
And if you follow my plan of battle tomorrow, we will destroy half Ulysses' army. I know Ulysses' mind, how it works. An attack at dawn tomorrow, if made as I advise, will cost him his best men.
Ulysses and his men have been all over the camp. Doug is gone. But they have a more immediate problem. Here come the Trojans.
The elite guard, the best Paris has. I'll have a few surprises for them. Especially if Paris takes Sardis' advice.
He had a fair idea Sardis would do this, and he knows exactly what Sardis has in mind. Sardis said he knows how Ulysses thinks. He forgot that cuts both ways.
When they get close, give the orders to fall back.
Considering that big line of straw they've made there, I'm surprised the Trojans can't figure out what it's for. But they charge right over it. Now that they're trapped and have no place to maneuver, the Greeks attack. It's not pretty. The control room can see that Tony's in trouble, fighting off several Trojans at once. The general gets an idea to send him a submachine gun and some grenades. Jiggs will see to that.
We didn't move them.
You've tried sending inanimate objects before and it didn't work. At least the tunnel is consistent.
The radiation bath could detonate those grenades.
I'll get them. No, wait, Jiggs.
Sending Jiggs with a submachine gun and grenades is way better than just sending the weapons. Might have been a good idea to ask him first, though.
Jiggs!
Never mind, he knows what to do. There's no time to talk. Tony has to pull that guy off him.
There's Jiggs. We're still locked on him. We can get him back.
Do we have enough power?
Yes.
Activate power.
Where's Jiggs?
Well, the retrieve should have brought him back.
Oddly enough, when Heinrich Schliemann discovered Troy in 1871, those little lead blobs in the vicinity of some of the bodies were one thing he could never explain, especially since the submachine gun hadn't been invented in 1871. Jiggs is in the tunnel, they can hear him, but he's having a hard time making his way out.
What have we done to him?
Jiggs, don't move. What's the answer?
Jiggs, I want you to go back into the tunnel to the transmission point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's clearly over 100 years old and having a hard time. Why don't one of you guys get your feet unstuck from the floor and go help him? Another few kabooms in the tunnel and he's his usual self again. The first thing he did was punch Ray in the nose for not making him 10 years younger while he was at it.
What's going on?
I must have left the retractor on automatic.
Jiggs and the other soldiers force him back into the tunnel and they get him back where he belongs. When he got back, the soldier swore off wine forever.
It will hold 24 men in its belly.
More than enough once it's inside the city to open the gates to us.
Ah, if it is taken inside.
It will be.
But most cunning is where I have hidden the secret door.
Here.
Come on, man. There's no secrets from him.
During the night, Ulysses will have his men move to the ships as though they're abandoning the siege and going home. The horse will be seen as a tribute to the winner and to the goddess Minerva. Once the Trojans take the horse into the city, the men will slip out and open the gates for Ulysses' army. That night, Paris is gloating to Helen and Doug.
There! Your 1,000 ships returning to Greece. Now you are Helen of Troy. Take the god to the dungeon, put him on the rack.
Helen begs for his life, but Paris says he's a false god.
You predicted victory for Ulysses, but you brought him defeat.
I'll tell you this. You will die on the sword of Ulysses, and Troy will be in ashes.
Paris says, my sister said the same thing, but we're still here.
There's one thing you don't know, Paris, is that when Apollo gave your sister the gift of prophecy, he made one condition.
What condition?
That no one would believe her.
Take him away!
And guess what? Not only is Ulysses going home, he left a lovely parting gift.
Sardis, we've won. Now it's beyond all doubt. Well, what's the matter, Sardis? Ulysses is not one to offer tribute except to the victors. Well?
I fear the Greeks, even when offering gifts.
The expression, beware of Greeks bearing gifts, came from this story.
After 10 years of holding them off, should I fear them now? No, we Trojans are not afraid of wooden horses. Have the gift brought into the city so that all may see it.
I think we all know what happens next. And Tony has the answer to his question. Yes, the Trojan horse thing really happened. And I got the answer to a question I've always had. Why did they bring the horse into the city? I had never heard it described as a tribute before, but now it makes sense. It's amazing how educational these shows are, as long as you're not too particular about whether a deity is Greek or Roman.
The Greeks! The Greeks are in the city!
That's Tony he's fighting with, by the way. You didn't think he'd miss the chance to be one of the guys inside the horse, did you?
Where is my friend?
Either there's a few things Tony has never told us about himself, or Sardis needs more sword lessons. Since Tony's going to let him live, maybe he can do that once this is all over. Never mind. I like that a random Greek soldier killed him rather than Tony or one of the other major characters. It subtly hints that he wasn't that important. He didn't merit death by the big boys, just a random extra with a bow. That's the way it is for traitors. It's time to open the city gates.
What's happening?
The Greeks, they're pouring into the city.
How? How did they get past the walls?
Beware of Greek gifts.
The horse.
That's right, Paris. A horse.
Ulysses.
Both his sister and Doug have told him he'll die on Ulysses' sword. Time for that to happen. Ulysses hands him a sword and says, at least put up a fight.
Ulysses, let me live, please. Please, let me live.
You stole our queen and offended our gods.
No, please.
Begging doesn't seem like the most effective swordsmanship. He and Sardis must have had the same teacher.
Not the rock!
What kept you? Trojan armor.
Despite all his joints being hyperextended, he's able to walk. It took them both a full minute to realize Doug was now 8 feet tall. It's all over. The Greeks will loot the city and then burn it. Troy will become a legend that many didn't believe existed until somebody found it. There's still lots of controversy around various parts of the story, but that's what keeps it interesting.
I see you have found your friend.
And you found your queen.
Your predictions have all come true. Paris died at the hands of Ulysses. And Troy is in flames.
Except the horse. Helen kept that and made it into a home for her mother-in-law.
We have them again.
Refine the focus.
Tell us more of the future. What will happen to Greece?
The ways of the gods are strange indeed.
Yeah, strange even to them. What's next? They sure have a thing about landing in the middle of massive death. These guys are wearing Union Army uniforms. Checking one man's ID indicates he enlisted in 1868, so it's after the Civil War. At least they might not have to deal with that. I have to wonder why they're running, though it's a safe bet those guys had something to do with all these bodies. Still, Doug and Tony don't look remotely like soldiers and they're unarmed, so why not put their hands up and try to be friendly? But it's a little late for that now.
Maybe we gave him the slip.
Come on, we better keep moving.
I don't think you gave him the slip. I'm not sure what to think about this episode. It has lots of action scenes from other movies, the pacing is good, and the acting is passable. I wasn't impressed with Helen. They tried to make her the stubborn kidnapped victim who refuses to submit and constantly resists and reviles her captor. But she came off more like a spoiled child who's mad at daddy and is throwing a tantrum, refusing to do anything even if he says eat ice cream. I'm not sure the historical Paris, if he existed, was the whiny little brat he was here either. But as I've already indicated, my big problem is the mixing of Greek and Roman deities. I already mentioned Jupiter and Juno instead of Zeus and Hera, but it doesn't stop there. The contest that led to Helen's problem was a beauty contest among Juno, Venus, and Minerva. If we were really going with the Greeks, that would be Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena. Cassandra got her prophetic gift from Apollo. That is Greek, and if you're following the deity names, it sticks out like a fundamentalist at a poetry slam. All they needed to do was be consistent with the names. Rome didn't even exist yet. According to the Romulus and Remus story, the city wasn't founded until 400 years after the Trojan War. According to the Aeneas story, Aeneas was a Trojan who escaped the city, fled west, and fathered the Roman people who later built the city. I guess he didn't like what the Greek gods did to him, so he made up his own gods, designed to be the same thing, only different.